Let's turn our attention now to the roundtable. Joining us today, Democratic Congresswoman from New York, Yvette Clarke, Tara Setmeyer, Communications Director for Republican Representative Dana Rohrabacher, and contributing editor and columnist for Newsweek magazine, Ellis Coates. I welcome you all, greatly appreciate it. Ellis, let me turn to you.
Sure.
We just heard from the Majority Whip suggest that everyone in this country is better off than they are 2 years ago. Now, we understand political hyperbole, and that is used in this season quite a bit.
That's simple nonsense. Everyone's not better off. I mean, obviously, we're still, well, officially this recession is over, but we still have unemployment, particularly in the black community, around 10%. I mean, we have unprecedented levels of unhappiness across the board in any number of measures. So it's just nonsense that everybody's better off.
Well, obviously the poll numbers beg to differ, which is why we're seeing such a wave, such a backlash, particularly with independents. They are hemorrhaging support for the president and his policies because they are not working. The stimulus package has not worked. We've lost 2.2 million jobs since the stimulus package was signed into law. Nobody's saying that we shouldn't have done anything, but spending over $1 trillion.
Let's be fair on that number, though.
Yeah.
Still a lesser decline in the numbers that we're losing prior to the stimulus package.
This is true.
Okay,
but
so let's just make sure that we
absolutely. But we're talking about whether the stimulus was working or not. It's tough to say that it's working when we're still hemorrhaging jobs.
Certainly working better than have done nothing. Now, whether they should have done more. Now, Republicans think it should have done less. That's a whole different discussion.
What do you tell someone? What do you tell someone in your district who's already been off of work for 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, facing foreclosure? Just hang on a little bit longer.
It's not even just a hang on a little bit longer. There's a lot that has been put into the pipeline that is just about to come into fruition. But
how do you convince them to hang on until it comes in?
Well, they recognize that we're all in this together, and that they elected President Obama to make the dramatic changes that need to be made, and that those changes are now in the pipeline. He had 8 years of Bush administration policies that drove us into that. And the reality is that the majority of people in this nation and in my district recognize that it's not going to happen overnight. It took 8 years to drive our economy into the ground, and we're on
to
the
Tara's point, though, I don't know that we can fairly say that the majority of people understand that. You would hope that the majority, perhaps, of his supporters.
I think she is right. The majority of people do understand this is not going to be turned around overnight. I think that much is true. But I don't think that translates into a huge amount of enthusiasm for this presidency right now, and that's the problem. I mean, the problem. There was just a story this week in the New York Times talking about the frame, the coalition that brought Obama to power. I think that he did set up very high expectations. They were unrealistic from the beginning. They were unrealistic. No one takes the worst economy in our lifetime and turns it around overnight. No one takes 2 simultaneous wars and ends them overnight. No one takes these long-term patterns.
Was that the biggest misstep to date of his presidency, the idea that he did not perhaps manage expectation as he should have?
I think that he had to set high expectations, but I think once he got elected, she should have been a lot more upfront about what he was doing and how he was doing it.
How do you explain the idea that it seems to me that at this point Republicans have taken the idea that we're not going to play? We're going to make everything difficult for you, and you're not going to win in spite of.
Because there are certain aspects that I think are non-negotiable, and spending our country into oblivion, which is what is happening, is non-negotiable. So now, should there be, do we need to compromise on some things? Do we need to work together on some things? Yes. But when we tried to do that, when it came to health care, that didn't happen. Health care wasn't passed with Republican support at all.
Yeah, well, Republicans never came to the table.
Yes, we did. We weren't allowed.
They never came to the table.
We weren't allowed. Your side wouldn't let us.
No need to debate the
but I'm just saying
but
that's the dynamic that we're dealing with.
We can clearly say that this has been a session, 111th Congress session of Republican no.
But you all faltered to a great degree as Democrats, Congresswoman. You all faltered because you had numbers. You couldn't figure out how to walk in lockstep to move things that you could have moved without Republicans on board.
And we did. No, just about everything we moved, we did without Republicans on board.
Isn't the problem, though, that those things that you moved...
The problem is that there was no compromise on the Republican. Their strategy going into this session was to make sure that whatever was put forth, whether it was good for the country or not, that there was a no, that it would have a poor reflection on a president that reached out across the aisle.
I will say that there were things that did move without Republicans on board, but what they weren't is impactful enough immediately to move the public. Is that fair?
I think that's absolutely true. And I mean, I think the Democrats had somewhat of a problem, which is that they don't have the same kind of discipline as the Republicans had. Yeah, and that showed.
We're much more
But-
diverse.
but-
Yeah, and
as a
But it's
party
amazing
than the
to me-
Republican Party is.
but
The
it's-
Republican Party is not as diverse.
How can you blame-
hold on.
Going back to the point, though, first for a moment, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were not in a deficit position. That was under a Democratic administration. So we got into that under Republican administration. So for Republicans to say this is the president who got us into this deficit position is just simply dishonest.
We'll be back right after this.